So today we're going to be talking about chapter 23, human evolution. We're going to be talking about the origins of humans. We're going to be talking how life started in our planet and how humans have been evolving. So if you're ready, let's go ahead and get started. Life. Those are organic molecules. So life originated about 3.5 to 4 billion years ago. It happened from non-living matter in a series of 4 stages, and we'll talk about those 4 stages. So small inorganic molecules, such as simple organic molecules, these are called monomers, evolved from inorganic compounds. So an example of these monomers are amino acids and nucleotides. Molecules are organic monomers that are joined together to make what we call polymers. So polymers is just basically a bunch of monomers that are bonded together by chemical bonds. So an example of a polymer would be DNA and RNA. So both of those, RNA and DNA, are made out of a bunch of nucleotides that are bonded together. And then when it comes to proteins, you have the amino acids that are bonded together in order to make a protein. So the protocells, those were the first cells precursors. So those polymers became enclosed in a membrane. And so living cells, those are protobionts that require ability to self-replicate. So as you can see, things were changing. Stages 1 to 3 involve the process of chemical evolution and occur before the origin of life. Stage 4, that's when I first evolved through the process of biological evolution. And we'll talk about biological evolution. We'll give you some examples. The planet was very different many years ago. Earth's early atmosphere was formed by gases escaping from volcanoes. It had little, if any, oxygen. It was extremely hot, so water was only a gas and formed dense clouds. As the air cooled, water vapor condensed to liquid water, and rain began to fall. So the rain washed gases and the other chemicals into the oceans. So the rainfall created the oceans. Earth had many sources of energy. For example, it had volcanoes, meteorites, radioactive isotopes, lightning, and ultraviolet radiation. So gases use this energy to react with one another to form a small organic compounds. Stanley Miller performed a very important experiment. So to simulate Earth's early environment, he heated materials to be believed to have been present and passed it on an electric spark. So after a week, the solution contained amino acids and organic compounds. Hypothesis on how the first small organic monomers may have evolved. For example, thermal vents at the bottom of the oceans provide all the elements and conditions necessary to synthesize organic monomers. Or some comets and meteorites have organic molecules that could have seeded chemical origin of life on early Earth. Panspermia, so bacterium-like cells may have evolved first on another planet, then they were carried to Earth. So evidence one is that Mars at some point possessed liquid water. Life might have evolved there and been carried to Earth. So the discovery of glycerin and phosphorus in the Churyumov-Gagarin comet in 2015. So glycerin is found in fat and necessary for all metabolic processes. And phosphorus is an essential in many biological molecules such as, for example, ATP, DNA, RNA, and phospholipids. Hypothesis of how small organic molecules could have been joined to make large polymers. So the first one is RNA first hypothesis. And so this one it says that only RNA was needed to form the first cell. So could have carried out processes of life usually associated with DNA and proteins. Protein first hypothesis. So amino acids joined together when they're exposed to dry heat may have collected in swallow puddles. Heat from the sun causes them to form what are called proteinoids, so small polypeptides that have catalytic properties. So when proteinoids are placed in water, they form microspheres. So structures composed of only protein have many of the properties of a cell. Are early cells that carry on metabolics but could not reproduce. could have formed in liquids mixed with microspheres, was probably a heterotroph, so an organism that takes in organic material as food. Had to have been a fermenter because there was no free oxygen available. About how the first cell acquired DNA and enzymes for reproduction. So the first cell had RNA genes that could have specified protein synthesis, including enzymes. One of these enzymes could use RNA as a template to form DNA. So replication of DNA will have proceeded normally. Hypothesis. Some of the proteins in the first cells were able to synthesize DNA from nucleotides in the ocean. Then DNA specified protein synthesis. The cells acquire all the enzymes, even those that replicated DNA. What has happened is that polypeptides and RNA may have evolved at the same time. So the first two cells will have contained RNA genes that will have replicated. Cells were prokaryotes. So these are cells that they do not have a nucleus, and they don't also have the membrane-bound organelles. From these evolved eukaryotic cells. So those are the cells that have a nucleus and they also have membrane-bound organelles. So the first eukaryotic cells were single-cell protists. So from the protists evolved the multicellular eukaryotes such as fungi, plants, and animals. What we call biological evolution. So two important aspects of biological evolution. So descent from a common ancestor and adaptation to the environment. So descent from an original cell explains why all life has a common chemical cell structure. Adaptation allows an organism to survive and reproduce in its environment. Is known as the father of evolution. He was an English naturalist who first presented the concept of natural selection, or descendant with modification. He formulated his ideas while sailing around the world on the HMS Vigo. That was between 1831 and 1836. Most significant contribution was to describe a mechanism for adaptation that he called natural selection.